welcome back to my channel. In the season finale of Love During Lockup, we learned that Candice married this man named Ismael only months after being released from prison, and Sarcasm ended up pulling up some things about Ismael, and I decided to do some research. So I want to talk about that in this video and try to figure out who exactly is Candice's boyfriend. Ismael is actually his middle name. He goes by his middle name, and he is 30 years old, and he has one son that I could find on his Facebook page that he posted a picture with not that long ago. I'm not sure if he has more children on top of that, and he is from Mexico, and it showed that he was living in California, but I found a lot of arrests of him in Nevada, so it looks like he's been living in Nevada for quite a while. And Candice met Ismael before she went to prison. She said they're absolutely inseparable for like 6-7 months straight, and then he ended up going to prison, and then she went to prison, and she kind of lost hope for the relationship. And she claims that after her prison release, once she finally got her phone from Andrew, she claims she ended up texting Ismael the very first day, and he ended up texting her back, and she realized that sparks were still there, and next thing you know, they're meeting up, and then they ended up rushing to get married because he claims they are both on probation and felons, so they had to be married in order to be together. According to Sarcasm, Ismael has been in and out of prison 3 different times just in the past 8 years. He was arrested in March of 2017, and he was sentenced to 1 to 4 years for a felony count of attempted possession of a stolen vehicle, and he was also sentenced to 1 to 6 years for felony burglary, which is charges that Candice has on her record, so it seems like they've done a lot of the same crimes. And his probation was revoked in February 2019, stemming from this conviction, and then again in January 2021. So he was sentenced to 1 to 4 years in prison in April 2019 after he was convicted of a felony charge of possession of a firearm by a felon, and then in February of 2021 he was sentenced again for felony possession of a firearm by a felon. So he obviously didn't learn his lesson, and he received 1 to 6 years in prison with credit for some time served. And according to Sarcasm, they say that Ismael's current status is listed as inactive. The dude seems to be pretty in love with Candice. He believes that they're going to be together forever. They have similar past and backgrounds. And this is just more of the guy that I would expect to see Candice with. And Candice's husband almost lost his life back when he was 22 years old. So according to the KSNV News in Las Vegas, this is about her husband. It says a local man is recovering tonight after nearly losing his life to 2 men who police say tortured him before setting his home on fire. Police say 22-year-old Jose was brutalized all over a $50 debt. Jose is his legal first name, and this lady who ended up saving him got interviewed by the news station, and she claims that she was driving by, she saw a home that had smoke coming from it, and she said she pulled over, she hopped out, and she picked up a rock, and she tried to throw it through the window to break the glass to see if anyone was inside. And she said she thought about driving off for a second, but she's like, no, if there's someone in there, I have to help them. And she said she had no idea what to expect when she drove up to the house fire. Just when she was starting to think that nobody was inside the home, she suddenly heard somebody screaming and crying for help. So that's when she walked around the backyard and she saw Candice's husband laying there, and he had his hands tied up, his feet tied, his knees tied, and his throat was cut. And she ended up taking off her shirt, and she started applying pressure to his neck to try to save his life. And she was trying to talk to him, and she said that he couldn't say much because he was really injured and out of it and in pain at that point. And she kept telling him that it was going to be okay, but he needed to keep fighting. And she ended up calling 911, and they ended up getting the 2 guys who did this to him, and they were arrested, put in custody. The charges they face range from attempted, unaliving someone, I have to say it that way, and mayhem to kidnapping and extortion. And according to the arrest report, it says that Candice's girlfriend's car had broken down and he needed somebody to tow it because they couldn't afford a tow truck. So this dude was like, okay, I got you, just pay me $50. And he's like, okay, I got you tomorrow. So the next day rolls by, and apparently he was ignoring them when they were trying to reach out. So they decided to pull up on him, and they suddenly decided to raise the price from $50 to $300. When Ismael did not have the money, they started taking matters into their own hands, and they started removing his fingernails one by one. They ended up cutting his throat, they amputated his pinky, and he was then left tied up, and they tried to set the house on fire because they're really trying to take this man's life. They did all this over $50 freaking dollars, and now both of those dudes that were involved, they are doing life in prison as a result from these charges. And according to the arrest report, Candice's husband was able to save his life by playing dead. So they thought that he was finished with, and they left him, set the home on fire with a lighter fluid as the accelerant, and they ended up leaving. And I guess Ismael ended up hopping over to the glass door, and he picked up a security sliding door stick, and he used that to smash open the glass door, and he was able to hop out of the home. And that's when the neighbor ended up hearing his cry for help and coming to save him. So thank God she was able to hear him crying for help, and she took the time to actually take matters into her own hands. This is what she saw when she was driving down that street and decided to stop and help. And according to the neighbor, they were interviewed by the news station, and they claimed that Ismael's home had been a problem for months. They claimed the house was actually a vacant house, and people been going over the fence, creeping, and it's always been a problem. Like I mentioned earlier, the Good Samaritan that saved his life, she had second thoughts if it was even worth messing with when she first drove by, and if it was worth risking her life. But she said she did what she would hope that somebody would do for her, and she's so glad she made the decision that she did, and Ismael's here today. The dude definitely has to have some trauma from going through that, and Candice has a lot of trauma from losing her dad and past experiences, but they're still going strong today. I don't know, I'm still having a hard time believing that she didn't reconnect with him until her first day out. I have a feeling that he was in the background the whole time. Like, maybe she's like, okay, you're a felon, I'm a felon, it might be a little hard for us to get an apartment, especially with us being like out of prison in the past year, so let me get Andrew to get me an apartment in his name, and then we can just live our happily ever after on his dime. And she got fully set up from Andrew, and then just leaves him for this man. But that is it for this video, guys. I have a whole bunch of tea on Andrew and Candice. It may be so much I may have to put it in two different videos. I'm gonna try to fit it all in one, but be looking out for that video in the next day or two. At the end of the season finale, the show said that Candice got married and that she still had Andrew's ring, and Candice ended up posting this video saying, "This is the ring my husband got me. I don't have Andrew's ring. It's been gone since December." And she claimed that so much that the show said wasn't even true. So I don't know what happened with Andrew's ring exactly. If she ended up stealing it, if she ended up giving it back. I definitely have questions, like, she admits that she didn't even want to be with Andrew and that she was just using Andrew. I don't understand why she decided to say yes when he proposed. She took the car, she took the apartment, took all these other things. I mean, if you really weren't sure at the moment, then you should have just been like, I can't take this from you right now. But I mean, I will at least give it to her. She tried to give Andrew back the ring at one point in the season finale, and he's like, oh no, I want you to still wear it. And she was even still wearing it at one point, and because of that, it was still giving him hope, even though she had already pretty much moved on in her head at that point. But that is it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Check out my lashes at AccordingtoAmber.com, and thank you for watching.